Welcome on in, my Ashwings, to another episode of the Commoner A to Z series for the High Seas meta. I wanted to go ahead and take a quick peek at our next hero in the B category, being Betsy. Now, funny enough, as I'm recording this video, the Mastery Pack Guardian has actually released, and notably, I didn't even think about that whenever I was making this series. So luckily, we had not touched any of the Guardians yet, and frankly, none of the generic equipment that came out in the set in the common slot is very good for any other hero besides somebody who's doing like heave stuff. So frankly, I think it actually works out better that it doesn't really affect most other heroes. But for Guardians, it does instill quite a few new cards into the Guardian pool for Commoner. And so I at least wanted to go ahead and present that information to you. There's a couple cards in this Betsy list that are from that Mastery Pack Guardian, but I do want to at least inform you that it will be there will be new cards from Mastery Pack Guardian in here. So we're effectively not in High Seas, we're in Mastery Pack Guardian season, which is not to say a whole lot. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Betsy here. So Betsy being a Guardian in the format, coming out in heavy hitters. Betsy's actually was a pretty well-loved hero, and I think there's a lot of people out there who still really enjoy Betsy and are able to play her whenever they can. But unfortunately, due to her not being super great in Classic Constructed, it's all about trying to find a home for her in other places. And so in doing so, it turns out Commoner is actually not a bad place for Betsy. Project Blue, also not a bad place for Betsy. Clash, also not a bad place for Betsy. And the reason Guardian gets a lot of this value here is because, and it might be hard to read, but Betsy's ability here says, whatever an attack you control wagers, you may pay 2 resources, and if you do, the attack gets +1 and overpower. That key word there, overpower, is actually what allows for Betsy to sneak through a lot of damage on really big hits and still get a bunch of these tokens on the back end, as well as additional damage to provide to other cards in the overall set here. So with Betsy's ability, we of course want to focus a little bit more on the wager mechanic here for her. And she plays a little bit more aggressive and sometimes doesn't block very well, but that's strictly because she is a bit more of an aggressive deck. What we end up doing here is we are playing Anathos as our weapon. It's pretty easy just to be able to pitch a card into a pump and then pitch another blue into hammer to go ahead and send 6. But even if you're just pitching a blue and sending 4, you're playing Commoner. 20 health formats coming in for 4 towards the end of the game is pretty good. So if you have the ability to send it for 6, awesome. If you don't have the ability to send it for 6, no worries. You can still send it for 4, and it's in a pretty good spot. We are then, of course, running one of the best Guardian equipment pieces in this format, being the Good Time Chapeau. This is a Betsy specialization, so only Betsy can run it. It's got action, destroy a gold you control, and your next attack this turn gets when this attacks a hero, wager a Might and Vigor token with them, go again. It also has Temper 2. So Temper 2 is pretty awesome in this format. And being able to quite literally not have to destroy this headpiece, but instead only just destroy a gold token in order for you to get its effect, makes it the best one out of the heavy hitters set there for headpieces. We then, of course, have the Heart and Cross Trap for our chess piece here. This allows us to get a discounted Guardian card out to our on the board. So, for instance, if we are wagering something, or if we find a way to wager and maybe we're just 2 resources short, or even a resource short, we can always go ahead and utilize Heart and Cross Trap to give it that ability to have it cost 2 less. That's usually what you want to do whenever you're trying to close out the game or really swing tempo in your favor, is to do something like Heart and Cross Trap. It makes your 4s cost 2, it makes your 3s cost 1, so on and so forth, right? So Heart and Cross Trap's pretty good. The only downfall, it does not block. Goliath Gauntlet also is something you're going to want to destroy at the same time as Heart and Cross Trap, because that same attack that you're going to try and play that costs 2 or more is going to get +2 value off of it, or +2 power. So now that 6 power attack comes in for 10. And so now you're sending a 2 card 10, which is pretty good in a commoner format. If you're destroying both of these, technically it's not 2 cards, it's 4 cards because you're popping the chest piece and the arms, but you know what I mean. And then we're running the blade back in our boots. There's a world in which you could run civic steps here. Civic steps are not bad to pick for this, but frankly, blade back in our boots, I should say, are not terrible choices either. Strictly because you're planning on probably going against a lot of these go wide decks with a lot of these 1 power attacks to block, or maybe even you're swinging, a weapon and a attack action, and in doing so, this still blocks 2. Whereas Civic Steps blocks 3 overall because it's got Temper 2, but at the cost of giving your opponent a Quicken token. If your opponent draws a hand in which a Quicken token just benefits them greatly, unfortunately, that's awful for you, and that just feels bad. I personally do not like the concept of giving my opponent anything unless it is going to harm them as opposed to help them in their game plan. So Blade Back in our boots is what I chose here. Then we get into the main deck. So again, most of what we are going to do is wagering. And so if you're not aware of what wagering is, kind of give you a little bit of a rundown here. On our first card, Big Bop, we're running the reds here, and it's an aura that does not have go again. It just says at the start of your turn, destroy this, then your next guardian attack this turn gets +5, and when this attacks a hero, you may wager a vigor token with them. When you are wagering a vigor token or wagering anything, the concept here is that if you leak damage through and hit your opponent, you will get the token. If you do not, and your opponent is able to block it out fully, they get the token. So it's all about kind of I bet that I can hit you, right? That's effectively what you're saying is I bet that I can hit you when I send this attack at you. And what makes it even better for that to happen is when you have Betsy's ability to pay 2 resources to do exactly that. It'll give it +1 and then overpower, which then allows for her attack to be harder to block. So that's really effective in here. Is you're going to want to try and wager a lot because these resources that you're going to be getting, whether they be vigor or might tokens, are going to be really, really, really effective for you to continue to push your game through. So we have Big Bop here. This is wager a vigor token. Again, it's +5. It costs 3. We're also running bigger than big. These ones, this is the same effect, but it makes a might token when they wager instead. The reason we have these is because sometimes you want a setup turn. And frankly, again, with a 20 life format, playing something like bigger than big is just insane. You get a ton of value off of this. There's a world in which I even thought about just like setting up a turn where you're able to like time skippers and you play bigger than big and then you play Big Bop. Big Bop. And then it's just like, okay, cool. Your next attack is going to come in for 10, wager two things, and then all you need to do is keep your whole hand. But there's risk and there's reward in Commoner, and so that's kind of one of those things to try and pull off. We're then, of course, playing Cartilage Crush, the red and the blues. This is just strictly because it costs 3 and comes in for a breakpoint. So 2 card 7 comes in for a breakpoint and presents Crush here. So again, if they block incorrectly, they could be affected with a different effect. Concuss here, super awesome, because if its power is greater than its base, which with Betsy's ability can give this, if this has something that is allowed to wager, it'll get +1 and then also the ability to get overpower. And this says when it hits a hero, if it has power greater than its base, they discard a card. So pretty awesome stuff there to be able to send that damage through. And again, have them discard a card because hand disruption is big and very important in this match. Next, we have Crush Confidence here. Again, 3 cost, 7 power, 3 block. These are the numbers you want to see in a Guardian card. And then you just play the blue variant of it too, because why not? Crush the Weak, again, big for aggro game because you don't want them to go wide. And this is really where a lot of the poor blocking / better attacking comes in, is where money where your mouth is. So this costs 1 resource and it says your next attack this turn gets +3, and when this attacks a hero, you may wager a gold token with them. Now, notably, this says your next attack. So it can be any of these attack actions, or it could even be your weapon. And a weapon attack is still able to be overpowered with Betsy's ability. So you always have this ability here. And notably, if you play this, you pay a resource for it, and then you just pitch another red into Anathos, And as long as you meet this condition, this should come in for 9, 10 with overpower, because it's +3 from the money where your mouth is, bringing it up to 9, and then Betsy's ability to bring it up to another +1. So you could pitch 2 blues, right? A blue for this, and then you can pitch a blue for Anathos, and then you can use the rest of your floating resources to use Betsy's ability. That is like the best cost curve you want to see out of these things. And frankly, sometimes that's all you can do, right? You just need 2 blues and a money where your mouth is, and you can play, you can send an overpower attack. This is great to play fatigue if you're trying to fatigue your opponent. But if you do happen to have something that already comes in for 1 point more, I do suggest sending that as well, especially if it's got a really powerful on hit too. So we're running all 6 copies of Money Where Your Mouth Is. We're then also running Thump. This card is just good in general, but the fact that you don't have to utilize any abilities such as with Betsy, and it also gains the Dominate keyword as opposed to the Overpower keyword, it's significantly harder to block, and also gives you the ability of when it hits a hero, they discard a card from their hand. Again, you'll see a theme here. The more cards we strip from our opponent's hand, the better our turns are going to be, because they're not going to be able to send as much power at us, and because of that, we get to just block with a small amount of cards and then send something big. We're also running Thunderquake. Now, Thunderquake was printed at common in the Mastery Pack Guardian and was brought down to that common rarity. And so we are, in fact, running 2 copies, I should say, of Red Thunderquake. Now, not fully tested yet. And frankly, at the end of the day, it's just a block 3 if need be. But if you do have the resources to be able to put this into your arsenal, and then you have 3 Seismic Surge tokens after that, this is going to only cost 3, and it's going to be a 2-card 10. Not to mention if you end up doing anything such as pitching a blue to Money Where Your Mouth Is, you can play Money Where Your Mouth Is, and then send Thunderquake for 3 resources, and then use the 2 floating resources to give it +1 and overpower, which means that a Thunderquake theoretically could come in for 14 overpower. That's a lot if you're not aware. That's a lot, especially against like an aggro hero. They're not really going to have that much block. That's a lot of damage. So Thunderquake might just be like a good game ender. Even if it's just block with 1 and keep the other one pitch stack to the bottom, might not be terrible. Wage Might, again, this has just got Wager on it already, so you can already utilize Betsy's ability. So you don't have to give this thing a wager. It already has a wager. So just with a blue or 2 blues, you can pitch to this, and you can pitch to a Betsy, and then give this overpower and make it more difficult for your opponent to block. Same goes for Wage Vigor. Same thing. It's just a wage ability, but with a Vigor token as opposed to Might. We're then running a blue copy of Grind Them Down, which is a new crush card that came out of Mastery Pack Guardian. In most cases, this is probably not going to get the crush ability, but it's a pretty good one to get if you're trying to pump up something. So for instance, if you do happen to get a Money Where Your Mouth Is, and then you play a Grind Them Down, this is going to come in for 8, maybe 9 if you have Betsy's ability here. And if it comes in for 9, and they only block 5 of that because it's going to have overpower or something, then that is going to destroy the top card of their deck, which is huge value. Of course, we have Macho Grande, great game ender. Again, you may want to block with one of these and then keep another one in the bottom for a pitch stack. I would suggest just pitching it with several other blues, so that way when they come back up into your hand, you have the ability to play that there. And then Pint of Strong and Stout, this is just so you can create some tokens here. The tokens are going to be pretty effective on turns in which you're able to get things like Thump, or even if you just need that additional resource to play something like a Money Where Your Mouth Is, and you only have like a blue in hand, you can play Money Where Your Mouth Is and then send Anathos for a whopping 7, and then see where that goes if it's the red. So that's the main board here. The sideboard is going to be a Arcane Polarity, Think Below for matches in which you want to defend a little bit more. In which case, if you're trying to defend a little bit more, I would suggest taking out I'd suggest maybe taking out the which one of these do I care more about? I'd suggest maybe taking out the Big Bop here for a sink below, just because it is a little bit more, this blocks 2, whereas the other one blocks 4, and it lets you sink. And then we're running AB3 because we are running a decent amount of blues. And because we're running a decent amount of blues, that means that if we do get paired up into a wizard, we have a way to prevent damage there. So this is pretty much the deck. It's a pretty basic deck for all things considered. I don't really think that there's much strategy to this one, unfortunately, outside of maybe pitch stacking a Macho Grande or a Thunderquake. Maybe making sure to keep maybe one of these in arsenal, and then that way, whenever you have a turn, you can really just pump up a lot of that damage. Do remember that these do not have Go Again, this Big Bop and Bigger Than Big. So if you are going to play them, I do suggest making sure that you block out on the turn in which you plan to play it, and then pitch a blue to play this, and then draw, and then you're going to want to probably not block as much on the next hand, just so you can get the full value. Because again, +5, I mean, if we're talking like a ceiling here, right, like a true ceiling, we have Bigger Than Big. This pops on a turn in which we also have Thunderquake, right? We pitch a blue, play Bigger Than Big. End of turn, we pitch a blue, play a Thunderquake. And put a Thunderquake in arsenal with the heave ability, gain 3 Seismic Surge tokens, pass. Next turn is going to be hope to keep your whole hand. You can then Bigger Than Big will pop, and then the Seismic Surges will pop. And then you can even do something along the lines of doing it with a Money Where Your Mouth Is too. You can play Money Where Your Mouth Is, and then you can pitch a blue into Thunderquake, and then pitch another blue into, or use another 2 floating resources into Betsy. That can have this come in for a whopping, was that 15 plus 3, 18 plus 1, 19 overpower. That's the entire health of a hero in Commoner for the most part. So enough yapping about the deck. Let's go ahead and see whether or not we can do something like that in Commoner meta. All right, so our first opponent here is an Oldhim. So let's see here. What we're going to go ahead and do here is, I think we are going to probably keep everything here. I don't know that we need any D-reacts. They're not really going to send a lot of disruption, I don't think. Also, notably, Anorable is one of our locals here, Nora. Thank you so much for dedicating your time to playing Flesh and Blood here while you are hanging out. So we lost the die roll, so we are going second, it looks like, which is fine. You know, that effectively allows for a bunch of power to be blocked out, you know, if we can send a pretty good thing here. So we do have a blue and we do have a Thunderquake. So theoretically, we could probably keep that and see if we can just like be fine with it. So I don't like getting rid of a Thump that early, but I think this might not actually be too bad here. So we are going to, okay, Money Where Your Mouth Is. So we can theoretically send damage here, right? We can, let's see. I think that might actually be what we do. I think we probably just comfortably send, because we could wager, right? We could theoretically wager, pitch, but then we wouldn't be able to do anything here. So what we're going to do instead is we are just going to send Anathos here. And we're going to see whether or not they take it, right? Obviously, with 4 damage, they could probably do several other things, but they probably have a D-react. Just block that out. So not too bad. There's a Fate Foreseen, so perfect on their front there. And so the line we're going for is a little risky because we really want to... This is a pretty good hand, actually. So we got the Macho. So all we really need to do here, again, is we need to keep 2 blues. Yeah, we need to keep 2 blues. That's all we need. 2 blues. So whatever they're going to send at us, we just block 3, and then we send a lot. So there's the sledge. Sledge is coming in. There might even be a world where I don't block here, just so I have an arsenal. Because I'd like to at least send something in that realm. So let's see here. I think, you know what? We will actually take 6. I think that's fine that we take 6. 6 is going to be okay. All right. So yeah, we're not gonna block anything there. I think our turn's gonna be pretty quick. We're very much so just going to, and we could have blocked 6 to do the heart and cross trap thing, but I don't think that's fine. I think we'll do that. We will pitch this, grind them down. We will do that to give wager to our next Guardian attack. And then we will pitch another blue into Thunderquake here. And then we will choose to Betsy. I will wager. I do want to pay 2 for Betsy. So 14 overpower. Not terrible. I definitely feel like we're gonna, unless we get like the nuttiest reactions in their hand. I mean, this is a lot of damage for a hero, right? So getting the armor blocks, yep. And we get a vigor token too. That's actually not terrible for us. So block 8 still takes 6. And we get a vigor token. And Oldham reaction. So they'll block 2 more. And then we get a gold. So cool. We'll put this in Arsenal and then pass. So see, these are the hands that suck. We have no we have literally no way to play any of this stuff, which sucks. This very well could be a pitch to Anathos or destroy gold and then pitch 3 into that there. Or we could obviously use Heart and Cross Trap here to do a lot more. Because now they have 1 less block value on all their stuff here. Their hand's going to be worse off, I think. Notably, they might still have the sledge here for, you know, the move. It's just pitch 2 blues into sledge. But I mean, as you can see, 14 overpower is pretty good, and it definitely pushes a lot in our favor. All right, so it looks like they're just going to get a So Tomorrow, or to draw a card and then put Glacial Footsteps back up there, and then it's just send 6. So not terrible here. I think there's a world in which, again, this hand is going to be pretty awful. I don't want to say my the Final Spirit and everything. So we're going to go ahead and block. We might just block 2 here. And then we are going to have 1 floating resource, notably. So actually, this works. This works. So we'll see whether or not they prioritize blocking 10 here. We could also make it 2 less so we could Betsy ability, notably. Which actually might be important here. So we are going to do that, I think. We're going to pop this. We're going to play this. We're then going to play... I guess we could play this. Yeah, that's better. Yes. Oh, no, wait a minute. Oh, I didn't have the resources. We had to do it under there for Betsy. That's my bad. So we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And then we're going to do this, pitching this, and yes, and then yes. The reason we did that is because we want 13 overpower, sending all that shit. That's going to allow us to have a little bit better of a of a turn, because otherwise we would have sent 9 without overpower, which would not have felt very good. Notably, they're still able to block pretty well. But I think we might have them on a bit of a back foot here. With no arsenal, though, we have to start drawing into some blues to really get ourselves going here. Notably, we do have a gold now, so we can gold and then pitch to a thing to pitch to Anathos to then have, or we can do good time chapeau, destroy the gold, do that. Okay, they've got the fate for scenes, so we know they're down on fate for scenes now. Okay, and we get a sink below too, so we're still winning the wager unless there's an earth card in their hand. Okay, so there is an earth card in their hand. They're going to block the whole thing out, and they're going to get a gold. Cool. All right, their turn is pass. So our turn might actually just be, we could theoretically set up, or we could try to Thunderquake here, or Big Bob. Very interesting. If this was a blue, this would have been the hand, like the hand to do this. I think we probably just go ahead and do. Maybe we do gold. Draw blue. Nice. Okay. So we can then send Anathos for 6. See how they want to block that. Probably block with their armor in that situation. But being able to block out 13 on that big hit is pretty good. So they were able to get a gold piece. They were able to draw off that thing now, but we'll see. I mean, they have to use their whole reaction for that. So do 6. That's good. We will simply go ahead and heave this card. And then we will do that. Then these. Okay. 2 blues. No wagers or anything. No way to wagers. So unfortunate, but that's fine. We're still sending a lot. There's 7. I think there's a world in which we just block 7. We could also notably thump. Well, we have no way to pump up the damage, right? There's no additional damage. Let's see here. I think I will. I think I'm going to block like this. Get some health. We're still definitely lower on life too. And then all we need to do is just send Thunderquake. So we're just sending 10. Again, they can block as many cards as they want from their hand on this one here. So we'll see. They're at kind of almost, well, I mean, we're definitely on less cards than they are, but very interesting hand here. All right. That's another sink below? No sink below. Okay, so they're willing to keep their hand. Okay, so we just block. Sure. So now they've got a whole hand. Their whole hand is probably just send more breakpoints, right? Which is fine. That's where we're at with it. That should be okay. Notably, that's going to come in for 4, so we need to keep these 2 cards. So we could block 5. This blocks for 2. So we need to block for 5. I mean, what do we do if we just block 3 here, right? We can actually pitch into. No. We can pitch in it. We can't pitch into Money Where Your Mouth Is. That's going to cost 1, and then we need to pay 4. I can't take 3 here. I can take that, but I can't take 3. I think there's a world in which I just block this. Because it's already going to have wager, so like there's no reason for me to wager again. You know what I mean? So take a couple points of damage, not the end of the world here. And then I think we'll be able to send. I mean, we're sending a thump for 11 dominate. So I don't think that's too bad. Because 11 dominate does the trick. 11 dominate and we'll get a vigor. So that's going to help. I do want to, you know what? I mean, I do want to wager. There's no way that they're not. There's no way they're going to be able to block the whole thing, but even 2 D reacts. They'd have to give me 2 D reacts, the chess piece, and also a card from hand. So okay, they're giving me the unmovable pitching. And then notably, they are only going to have 1 card in hand. Unless it's, yeah, that should be it. So they're going to lose a card from hand. So we get a whole additional turn full of stuff. And we get a vigor token out of it. So not too terrible. But still, even being able to block out that much damage is crazy good. I still don't know that we're in the win here, but we're trying our best. So 4. Pretty good. Our turn can be pint bigger. I mean, I kind of want to send damage, but I feel like I need to set up. And they're not going to have, they're notably not going to have like dominate or anything crazy to use. So I will do this. I will do this. Okay. Hand's kind of crazy here. We have to keep most of it, but because again, we need to keep 2 blues, which means that we need to keep this. 7. Okay, so notably not really anything we can do here. They're going to wager something, so we don't need to do about wagering anything. We just need to pitch. So really we need to keep a blue in this, right? So we can block 5. Yeah, we'll block 5 here. I'll move to take 2. Right, because we need to send... Wait, stop. Undo those. I need to keep these 3 cards. Because I need to send an attack. But I guess I can do it with Anathos, right? I can send Anathos for that amount. So if that's the case, if we're trying to send Anathos, we need to keep... I have a Vigor token and a Might token. So actually, we need to keep... God. 1 sec. What else do we need? I think we need to... This math on this turn, it might take a little bit longer than we need, but we wanted to keep a card. This is going to cost 2 less, or 1 less, because of the Vigor token. And then... But I can play the Money Where Your Mouth Is for free, but I don't need to do that. I just need 2 for Betsy. So I need this, this, and this. Or I can do this, pitching this, sending this for 6, dominate. I could also theoretically block 4, take 3, go down to 1, and then try it with the blues. But if I swing with my weapon, they're going to be able to block with their armor, which makes it not so great. So unfortunately, I think in this situation, we actually have to just give... Might even be a world in which we give... I mean, even with overpower, like, I think we're just going to try and... We just have to push some damage here. I think that's just it. Unfortunately, we couldn't keep that whole hand, so it is what it is, but luckily, this is going to get quite a bit here. We're going to send Anathos. I'm going to pitch, and then I would like to pay for bigger than big, or wager, and then yes. So 11. Overpower. They're able to block with their 3 pieces of armor and live. So they probably don't even really need to do anything here, but This is a very defensive deck, Oldham. Notably, one that I have provided Nora with in order to play at the Commoner Goldfoil event. So this is about as meta as we're going to get, I think. Yeah, because even blocking 3 or 4 on... I guess I could have blocked... Could I have blocked 4 on 7 and kept that card? I guess I could have, right? So that would have been what? 8 plus... You're not blocking with any other thing. Okay, the D-reacts. Yeah, and like this is a hand in which they don't need to worry about nearly anything here. We've gone through both of our Thunderquakes so far, though, and I'm not gonna lie, like the damage is impressive. If we were going against any other deck that could not block that very well, it'd be a pretty good hand. So we did get a Might token. This hand does not block very well, but we do get to send a Thump for 5. 7 is pretty good. We can give... That's just so bad because we have to give this and we have to give that. So we're just going to block 7. I will then just go about... No, I'd have to just pitch this for 5. So we've come down to nearly the same in deck. So we're definitely hitting each other pretty hard. But I think that this is going to be a game where I need to make sure I'm not getting a handful of 2 blocks. So, all right, they're going to take 5 or 2, go down to 5. Yep, I'll add this Arsenal. Okay. Only a couple of cards off. Battlefront Bastion for 5. Okay, so we can actually deal with this here. This is not bad. So we can play a Money Where Your Mouth Is, pitching a Grind Them Down. So again, we need to keep 3 cards. And we can't. So let's block... let's block 5 here, sure. 6. Probably should be better on that, actually. Should probably block 5 instead. Don't get rid of my 2 blocks so easy. And then I think we will just simply go ahead and pitch this. Play this. And then pitch this. This will come in for 7. I do want to wager Money Where Your Mouth Is. Now, notably, the cool thing here is wagering for Money Where Your Mouth is good because there's a weird pseudo thing where you're going to kind of try to bluff your opponent to want to block that out fully. Because if they do, they get gold out of it, right? But in this situation, if they don't, then that's fine. So, all right, we get a Vigor token. They're going to take some damage here. We're going to get a gold. Do they not want to do that? Okay, Oldham ability. Okay, block 2 more. Okay, so you're still taking 1. All right. Handful of stuff. Sledge. Okay, cool. So we have to block with... I guess theoretically we can block with this, and we can block with... this and this. Because we have a Might now. Right? Or we have a Vigor. Yeah, we have a Vigor. But we don't have really anything else to do with this. So, I might actually undo that block. I might do this. I might just set up with a turn. Let them have another turn here. Yeah. Because I feel like another thump is coming up here pretty soon. I guess I don't need to give boots if that's the case. We'll give the cartilage crushes. And then I will go ahead and I will play Big Bop pitching. Okay. So blocks 2. I guess I might need to take these wage mites out because they block 2, and that just does not feel good. It's coming in for 7. So we need to block 6. Notably, that's fine, though, because we can then go ahead and just send a Big Bop for, what is that, 12 or something? So, yeah. Block 6 here. All right. Not too terrible. Not too terrible. We're just going to keep on sending stuff and hope for the best. So we are going to wager. No, we're not going to pay for Betsy. We are going to wager the mite. We're not going to pay 2 for Betsy. It's going to be 12. So they have to block 12 if they want to keep the whole thing. Notably, they are out of D-reacts. They are out of D-reacts totally. So they will need to block with pretty much everything here. Okay, and then they're going to Earth react. Sure. Okay, I think there's a Macho Grande somewhere in this build here. So this might actually be the turn that we win. We have a Mite token. We can go ahead and do this. We can pitch, play Money Where Your Mouth Is. With that Vigor, I guess we got that for free. I can pitch to gold. Grind this. I guess we're going to do this. Grind, draw card. We can then just send Crush Confidence for... See, the 4 cards we're going to draw are probably blues, right? So Crush Confidence, pitch... Well, you know what? Actually, we might want this instead. Pitching the Crush Confidence. And I will pay 2 for Betsy. So 9 overpower. And I think we get there. I think we get there. I think this is... I think we actually get there. That's crazy work. And so notably, again, like our end of the game there is just very much so, yeah, pitch to Oldham, prevent 2 more. Yep, activate Oldham. Pitch, prevent 2. Oh, and Arcane, I see, and do Fruits of the Forest. Still W. So they gain 2 life. They block 5 on this, gain 2 life. And then, yeah, I think this last hand would have been, well, look, I wouldn't have had enough. I guess I would have had enough if I just didn't block anything. So pretty awesome stuff there. So that was a Betsy game. Let's go ahead and see if we can get into another Betsy game and perform the same kind of shenanigans here. As you can see, look, I mean, threatening 12, 11, 10, 11, 10, 15, 5. All these things here, it's a lot. So we were able to make it happen. Let's move on to the next one. Well, I'm just kidding. We are apparently not going to be getting a second game going in here. I was lucky enough to be able to reach out to our community to have somebody come in and do that one game. But unfortunately, there is an issue currently with Talishar in which Thunderquake seems to not be recognized as a common yet. So I'm more than likely going to be waiting for that to occur. And then being able to do something like playing this in the event here, or in the Talishar queue. But at least for now, we know that even in a grind fest like against Oldham, a deck that you will most certainly see whenever you are going to play in any kind of gold foil event, this is just how it's going to be. Sometimes you get lucky. I think that we maybe popped our Heart and Crosstrap and Goliath Gauntlet a little too early just because we wanted to play. I think we very well could have saved it for another turn to push even further damage, but we did good about keeping our Macho Grande inside the actual deck, throughout the course of the game. We didn't pitch stack it with 3 blues. We pitch stacked it with 2 blues and a red, which notably does pay for Macho Grande. But at the end of the day, if for any reason we had to block with a card, Macho Grande just pitches to Anathos, and that's not anywhere near as good. So with that being the case, I think this pretty much gave you a quick idea about how Betsy worked out. Sorry that there's not 2 games in this video, but I'm just kind of waiting for the Mastery Pack Guardian stuff to be up on Talishar. And until that happens, we might see some delayed stuff with the Guardians that are within this set. But luckily, our next hero is not going to be a Guardian. It is going to be none other than Boltyn. So keep your eyes out for Boltyn, and we'll go ahead and get a video up there. But if you did enjoy today's video, make sure to give it a like. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well if you have not already. And then make sure to leave a comment down below letting me know what you felt about Betsy and maybe how you would change her in the overall commoner meta. So thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate your support, and I hope you continue to have fun in the flesh and blood. I will see all of you beautiful Ashwings in the next installment of A to Z, the Commoner series.